Yeah, does anyone else need a mic check? Okay, check, test, 1, 2. Testing, 1, 2, 1, 2. Mic check, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. Mic check, 1, 2. Everyone good? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Mic check, test, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. You're good? Everyone good? Excellent. All right, perfect. Thank you, everyone.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to allow everyone to get an opportunity to get set up. Hi. It's nothing a little sleep wouldn't cure. You guys ready? All right. Well, good afternoon. I want to thank everyone for being here. I want to take an opportunity to ensure that has an update on where we are as a city. At 1 o'clock today, I briefed some of our law enforcement partners, some of our stakeholders across the city, mayor's team, city management team on after actions from last night and Friday as well, and our plans for moving forward with what we've been experiencing in protests throughout the city. I'm going to give you some chronological perspective to what we've been doing for the past 2.5 days. On Friday, we began with a protest. It had an organizer. It was structured. We had our intelligence division assigned to it, and there was a roadmap as to what was going to be done, who was going to speak, where they were going to march, the direction, and all of those things, and it was coordinated by the police department's intel unit to ensure that we provide safety to a peaceful protest, because that's what we do in our police department, is provide a safe route and safety to those who protest peacefully. There was about 500 participants. Ultimately, they began to march through the streets, and around 8:45, 9 o'clock, we saw a separation of some of the protesters. Some of them began to try and access the freeways, but because we were prepared and had our partners from the sheriff's office to intervene and prevent them from going on to the freeways. After that, they began to, again, come together. And then right about 9:15, we saw a shift at Griffin and Young Street. They began hailing bottles at officers and bricks and damaging our scout cars. At that particular point in time, officers produced their protective gear, and we made a decision to deploy tear gas to disseminate the crowd and protect the officers as well as our property. What we realized moving forward was they were breaking down into smaller groups and going around the area to damage property. Now, we were prepared for what we had seen in other cities, but what we want you to know is that they are strategic and they shift each and every day. They watch what we do, and they've been moving around. What we recognize now is that this is no longer peaceful protesting. Where it started, we all agree that our hearts go out to the Floyd family, but this is not what we are dealing with. We are dealing with individuals who are vandalizing property, attempting to injure police officers, and the protesters who are peacefully protesting, putting their safety and lives at risk as well. This will not be tolerated in our city. On Saturday, after Friday night, we were able to garner some intel about the Saturday planned protests, one to begin at 1:30 and the other one to begin at 4:30. We were successful in garnering information about 800 to 900 vehicles planning to protest at North Park Mall and Galleria Mall. We were able to coordinate with security for the mall, as well as get an agreement. They shut down the mall at 2 o'clock on yesterday, and they are still closed today. So we were able to prevent that protest. However, the protest that started at 1:30 on yesterday began peaceful. It began with individuals in front of City Hall, and they marched multiple times and then had a prayer. But shortly after that, there were objects being thrown at the police. There were police vehicles being vandalized, both Texas Department of Public Safety vehicles as well as Dallas police vehicles. And at that time, we again deployed gas. What we did differently on Saturday than we did on Friday is that we recognized that they had a desire to be in the downtown area and the surrounding area. So we strategically worked alongside of DPS, who has about 500 troopers in the city supporting us, as well as Irving Police and Allen Police. And we strategically staged them around the downtown, uptown areas, West End areas, to block off vehicular traffic and limit the amount of pedestrian traffic that was going to come into the area. Now, we're not claiming any successes because we see that they have been continuing to vandalize property. And so at this point, we are committed to keeping the city of Dallas, the residents of Dallas, our police partners and police officers safe in this city. We will not tolerate what we are seeing right now. We are instituting a curfew. I have requested from the mayor, and he has signed a declaration, emergency declaration, giving us authority to institute a curfew that will begin at 7 p.m. and end at 6 a.m. for the next several days. We had been working on getting a curfew, but I do want the community to understand it is a coordinated effort. When you want to institute a curfew in the city and make mass arrests, it requires coordination with multiple agencies. There has to be arrest and processing locations, multiple transport vehicles, as well as resources, including judges and magistrates, as well as our CDC. And so we've been working on that throughout last night and this morning, and we have a curfew in place. These rioters, these looters, they have become extremely aggressive, and our enforcement efforts have escalated. We will not tolerate any more damage to our city. Dallas is Texas's jewel, and we need to make sure that we protect our city and that we protect the people who do intend to protest peacefully, as well as the residents and business owners of this community. So tonight, that curfew will encompass multiple areas: Deep Ellum, Farmers Market, the Cedars, Central Business District downtown, West End, Victory Park, and Uptown. And it will include these boundaries. North boundary would be Oak Lawn Avenue. To the west, the Riverfront Boulevard. To the south, Corinth Street. And to the east, Peak Street. So we are determined, is the right word that I want to use, to keep our city safe. We will make arrests of individuals violating curfew. You will not be able to access these areas. We will not tolerate any more vandalism of our city. Moving forward, this curfew will be in effect for the next several days, and we intend to continue the utilization of our partners. I just want to, at this time, thank our Chief of Police in Irving and their police department, Chief of Police in Allen, as well as Hank Sibley, the Regional Director for the Texas Department of Public Safety, who has been an excellent partner in making sure that Dallas has the resources that it needs. And we will be out in full force protecting the city of Dallas. And with that, I'll take any questions. So currently, we do not have those perpetrators in custody. We are in the process of reviewing camera footage in the area. We are thankful and prayerful that he is in stable condition. That was what he was listed in as of yesterday.
Chief, how do you plan to stop a mass of people going into a business or running rampant down streets and causing vandalism? I mean, it's something that it doesn't sound very easy. You seem to think you can stop.
So one of the things that we're not naive enough to believe is that we can do what we can't we seem to see across the country that we can't stop. But what we can do is target harden, and we know that it is challenging, and it takes multiple resources and strategy to be put in place in order for this to do this. We're playing chess, not checkers. And so we need to make sure that we are looking at intelligence, that we are making sure that we have enough resources, and we are getting those resources by our other law enforcement partners. And then we're aggressive in our enforcement efforts as it relates to arrests and those individuals who are violating the law. And that's how we began to put an end to it. So our decision to deploy tear gas is based on the fact that there are very large crowds. The crowd on yesterday was upwards of 700 people. And when they break off even into smaller crowds, they're 100 to 200. And tear gas is a less lethal form of force that we can use in order to disperse a crowd, however, cause minimal injury, if any, to anyone. And so when a crowd begins to become unruly, when they're throwing bricks and bottles and setting things on fire, on Friday night, they vandalized and set 2 scout cars on fire. So we're not talking about protesters. We're talking about criminals. We're talking about individuals breaking into businesses, Neiman Marcus, the Rolex store, vandalizing, taking property. This is not the action of individuals who are angry. This is criminal activity. And so the deployment of tear gas in those large crowds assists us in allowing the crowd to dissipate and for us to be able to move in and make the necessary arrests with the minimal use of force that we possibly can. So when we talk about tear gas, there's multiple uses. Our SWAT team deploys tear gas during barricaded suspects, and in some instances when they're supporting other agencies. So I can't tell you besides when we used it this weekend, when the last time SWAT used it, I'm sure at the last barricaded suspect. So we are not oblivious to 7/7, and I think that's the last time that we were in that position to deploy multiple techniques and tactics to disperse a crowd.
Chief, you tweeted out that you're looking for videos from people who capture things on camera. Is it going to be possible, or will you go after anyone that's seen on camera the last 2 nights, looting, causing vandalism, things like that?
Absolutely. We are committed to the same level of intense follow-up, relentless follow-up and prosecution of those who are committing crimes. Our teams are out, our investigative teams are supporting us, looking for video and finding witnesses to interview so that we can identify these individuals. I think it's important that we remember that when we talk about protesters in the city of Dallas, that the individuals that we are making arrests of, a large number of them are not members or residents of the city of Dallas. They come from multiple locations around the north and southern Dallas, east and west, north and west Texas, and other areas into our area to commit these violent acts. So these are not residents of our community. These individuals don't have the love, the respect for the city of Dallas that we have, and we need to make sure that they learn the respect for our city. And so the curfew is for those areas that I outlined, and the message for the rest of the area is what we recognize is there were areas that were targets for these vandals. these looters. And so it was necessary to ensure that we protect those areas. We do have the rest of our police department and our surrounding partners to ensure that if there is spillover, that we address those concerns as they come up. But the areas that we chose to enforce a curfew in is that area that these individuals have been targeting.
Chief, hindsight's 20/20, but do you think that at all that you should have your officers make arrests any earlier on Friday or Saturday to prevent the looting assault?
So we have always made arrests. There was no need to make an arrest during a peaceful protest. But the second our officers began to be assaulted with bricks and bottles of water, arrests were made. And when we say arrests, it's easy to say we should make more arrests, but these individuals are very agile. They're running and running away from us, and they're in large crowds. So we've always been in arrest mode. There has never been a soft stance on violent acts toward the city of Dallas, our residents, or our police officers. The stance is we're not going to arrest peaceful protesters. There's speculation of that. I will not be able to speak intelligently about that because I don't have any finite details or information relative to that, but there's a lot of information relative to that, and we are looking at that. Our intelligence unit, we're working with our federal, state, and local partners who are on the ground with us to identify any information that they have relative to that. So the governor has, much like he did during the COVID-19 pandemic, has activated the National Guard for the entire state of Texas. So the National Guard bases in Grand Prairie and other parts of Texas have received a number of individuals to assist the Texas State Police. So the Texas State Police will be utilizing them as they see fit, but he has not declared any kind of emergency or civil unrest to the point that he's deployed the entire National Guard. That is not what has happened. Okay, thank you.